So, how long are we going to have these mother issues? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, Season 2, Episode 16. And last episode did not end as nice as we would have hoped. Things were not wrapped up super well in this neat little bow. Um, we had like Lunella confront her mother and even talk to her, and it's very understood on both sides why she's acting like that. The mother, why I remembered her name last time and I can't think of it now. Adria. Why Adria is like this? Why she's so like against Lunella being Moon Girl now that she knows? Because she's afraid. She loves the shit out of Lunella. She adores her to a point that she doesn't want her to be in danger. And yeah, this can put her in danger. And honestly, if Adria knew everything that Lunella has been through, she would probably have a heart attack. Let's be honest. Because Lunella almost died. Like, was very fucking close to dying. Like, surprisingly so. Um, and it would scare the shit out of her to know everything that Lou's been through. But at the same time, Lunella does need to do this because there's not really anyone else in their neighborhood who's protecting it in the way that she is. Like, she's worked with Shield and others here and there, but it's not consistent enough. She's been the only consistent hero that their area has had. And we see how her not being there for a time affected things. It caused a lot of trouble. It caused Casey and Devil and others to be literally kidnapped by a group of villains who teamed up together. Like, Casey's like the same age as Lunella. They're like, what, 12, 13 years old? Something like that? Like, they're kids. Casey was literally kidnapped, tied up, and held prisoner. I feel like that would kind of be a point where I would kind of change my mind a little. Um, I don't know if Adria fully knew about that. Did she? She saw she saw that things were going wrong, right? I think she knew about it. She was so insistent, though, either way, on protecting Lunella, and that's fair. But she wasn't looking at the bigger picture, and I hate using that phrase because obviously it's been used to excuse a lot of terrible actions and dangerous things, but in the end here, that is true in this case. Lunella not only had to save her best friend and her best dinosaur friend, but anyone and everyone who was going to be victimized by these people in the future if she didn't. Like, this was dire circumstances. And she was right to basically tell her mother, I have to do this. You are not going to stop me. You're the one who taught me to stand up for what's right like this. I got this from you. And that shook Adria to her core. It shook her so bad, and the ongoing the fight that followed after like affected her so bad that we saw at the end there she's become distant from Lunella. Not out of like hatred or resentment or anything like that, but because to she doesn't want to be around Lunella when she's going to be in that much danger. She's afraid of connecting more because she's afraid so much to lose her, and how that will affect her emotionally if she does keep that connection as strong as it has been. It's a stupid thing to do. It absolutely is, because in the end it just causes more pain. But it's understandable. Like, Adria got really fucked up when Lunella called her out and said, like, you're the one who taught me to be like this. Like, you could tell that really bothered her. Because, again, the way Adria's seen it is Lunella's just putting herself in active danger. And so to hear that Lunella basically tell her, from her perspective, that you taught me to put myself into danger like this, to risk my life, that's all that Adria's hearing. And she's like, and she's thinking, like, I am a bad parent. And she's not even thinking about, like, what Lunella's really saying here. And I don't know how quickly this is going to be able to be resolved, because this is such a complex issue. But I believe I was saying last time, it does need to be resolved, and I want it to be resolved quicker rather than later. I don't want this to be like an entire arc throughout the rest of the season, because with this being the final season, with there not being anything more past season 2, I don't want this to last until the end of the series. I feel like there's bigger things that are going to need to be, like, focused on, and having this be there for too long is going to affect things. And honestly, also from a real point of view, as someone who has had these kinds of issues with my parents, to where we kind of became distant from each other for a time, it doesn't tend to last long on either side. It tends to actually get resolved pretty quickly, and both sides tend to just kind of, like, move on from it. Again, just speaking from experience, because I've been in not for these kind of reasons specifically, um, but it's like, for example, when I was a kid, there were a couple times where I ran away from home. And, like, after I eventually got caught and brought back, like, my big thing was I was blaming them for it. I specifically called them out and blamed my parents. And it ended up creating a rift like this between us, but it, again, didn't last long. Like, maybe a couple days at most. Because I was a kid, and with how a kid's brain works, like, I moved on from it, like, really quickly. And no parent wants to stay upset at their kids for long. Like, they'll be upset for a time because they love them and they're worried about them, but at least most parents should be. But they're not going to keep angry, because they want to also be kind and gentle and caring, and have fun with their kids and everything. They want to be a good parent, again, at least wants to have, like, a friendship with their kids too. Any parents who, like, spout that shit about, like, oh, I'm your parent, I'm the adult, I'm not your friend. Parents who do that, it's like, that's not okay. For a number of reasons. It's not a healthy relationship to have with your child, to have that kind of, like, authoritarian relationship. But also, it's just extremely toxic and leads to a lot of resentment later in life. So it's just, don't do that. There's nothing wrong with, like, punishing your kids when they're bad, but yeah, just as long as it's not corporal punishment. Like, don't physically hit them. Never do that. That's abuse. But you can get angry at them. You can, like, punish them when they're bad. Just you have to make sure that you also show them just as much love and friendship and, like, play games with them, hang out with them. Just be there for them in a lot of cases. So, yeah. I'm hoping this is resolved sooner rather than later. But I also do want to see a lot of the standard Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur fun. Excuse me. And, of course, we also have to address Beyonder, who we briefly saw in the last episode. Very briefly, mind you, but still. So, let's get this going and see what we have in store. Hold up just a second there. Before you click that link in the description below to go to today's reaction, I want to take the moment to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 every day except Thursday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about all the awesome gaming content over on the Princessa Gaming channel. Every day of the week we have some awesome Let's Plays, we have streams, we have all kinds of great content. And please, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to like this video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get to today's video. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I looked it up because obviously I know the song, and yeah, I very much know it, and I know the singers who sing it. Marvin Gaye and Kim Weston. It's like, yeah, obviously. It's like that just, yeah. It's a Motown song, so from here in Detroit, that was released originally in 1966. It's a classic song, and I've heard it many times. It caught me off guard with it being performed here, but at the same time, it makes sense. Like, it definitely makes sense to do a Motown song in Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, even though this takes place in New York instead of Detroit, but still. And while it's not the typical kind of music vibe that they have on the show, it still fits with the context of the episode and what our characters are going through. So this episode was a very cute one. It wasn't the best in terms of necessarily the action or whatnot. Not even the humor, I would say, was at the top of this series' game. This was definitely more about the characters' relationships to each other, most notably Lunella's relationship with her parents. Because we get the continuation of what's been going on with her relationship with Adria, her mom. And we also find out that the only one who hasn't had a quote-unquote Moon Girl moment doing something with Lunella prior to finding out she was Moon Girl, mind you, was her father. And so she decides, because she's afraid of him, like, growing distant from her like her mom did, she decides to take him out on a ride-along, and it doesn't go super well for the most part. He does tend to actually be pretty good at the driving for the most part, until he messes that up by getting a little too cocky. But prior to that, he was actually doing really well. And yeah, he ends up being a little bit of a hindrance and is kind of at fault for releasing the beetle from S.H.I.E.L.D. But it's nonetheless a really cool little episode that, again, focuses on their relationship. And we see that in the end, like, he assures Lunella that their relationship's going to be okay. That he isn't going to drift away from her, that he loves her and wants to make sure that she knows that they'll always have the relationship they do. Even if it grows and changes in certain ways, it'll always be there. And he assures her that her mother thinks the same way, but that she needs time still. That she's not ready to accept and handle this. And again, like I was saying in the pre-thoughts, I kind of hope this doesn't last too long because while I understand this being a big deal and it makes sense, I don't want it to be the entire second half of this season just focusing on this, you know? I mean, because we have other stuff to focus on too, including the Beyonder stuff. So I do hope this is resolved quickly enough. This episode did bring back the puppet head thing with both Lunella and Casey, and I'm just like, oh, why? Why? Like, I'm not like grossed out by it or like creeped out by it or anything like that. It's just, it's so jarring whenever it happens. Again, it only happened in one other episode, but like when it happened in that episode, it caught me so off guard. Even here, when it happened again, it's just like, it's so. It's not like when the characters make like a silly face or anything. It is so distractingly weird. And again, I'm not like saying I like hate it. I'm not saying it's like a bad decision or anything. It just catches me so off guard that it throws me entirely out of it. um, it's just so goddamn weird. It's so weird. Um, I like how much of a great friend that Casey continues to prove she is, though. Um, and yes, even though Casey didn't have a big role in this episode, I'm going to take the time to gas her up because she's still my favorite character. But seeing her, like, instantly turn around on helping Lunella and her father after finding out why Lunella was doing this, seeing how she instantly changed her tune and was, like, super supportive and excited to help her, it's like, it just goes to show, like, she understood instantly the emotional, like, strain that Lunella was kind of going through with this, and she wanted to make sure her best friend was okay. She wanted to make sure that, like, she was, you know, feeling good about her relationship with her father. It's just, Casey's the best. Like, she's so awesome. Devil was being a little bit of a grumpy saurus in this one. He just had he was clearly getting sick of everything, but he ended up being a good sport by the end too. And yeah, it's nice to see. And then you have the Mission Impossible thing. I haven't seen the Mission Impossible movies, but Tom Cruise, like, Jesus. Like, that's almost as bad as them saying Spruce Willis in Ruby. It's like, Jesus fuck. But the difference here is it actually showed it. It actually showed parts from that movie, and it's just like, it's obviously just Mission Impossible, and obviously the stupid over the top action and um like the unrealistic action sequences that you see in a lot of these action movies. Fast and Furious is apparently really big with that in the more recent films. Like, didn't they like drive a car into space or something? From what I heard. I only saw like I think the first five Fast and Furious movies before I kind of gave up on the series. Um, so yeah, there's that. But yeah, it was so dumb. It was so dumb. In a funny way, mind you, but it was so dumb. I did really enjoy this episode, but it wasn't the best. Like I said, it was a cute, fun episode. Had a good idea to it, and definitely expanded on like the story we're currently going with Lunella and her mother. But it just as the episode itself, and like in terms of the action, the writing, the comedy, etc., it wasn't Moon Girl's best. Um, I don't know, like a 7 out of 10, which is still good. It's still very good, but hey. And again, I like the inclusion of the song in there. It was a very fitting song, even if it was really unexpected. And the performance of it was great in this. So yeah, um, I enjoyed this one as usual, and hopefully the next one is even better. And hopefully we really start to address this shit with Adria because this really needs to be rectified. Partially because I just don't want to keep seeing Lunella struggling with this because it's makes me feel anxious. uh, but tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? And as always, no spoilers. But for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.